Good afternoon, everyone. It's the 11th of June, 2022. Peter Rasey, Brisbane Tennis YouTube channel, and I'm talking to Robyn Ebbern as we continue the series and we start to explore a little bit of the personal history of Robyn. Now, Robyn, I think you moved to Milton from Tenerife around 1958 or 59, but the purpose of the move was to enable you to play tennis, as I understand it.
Yes, that is correct, Peter. My family decided that because I was very involved in the tennis, as well as my brother and sister, they decided they were going to move. They were either going to buy a house with a tennis court, or they were going to move closer to the Milton Tennis Centre.
Well, they couldn't get much closer than when you actually did move. You could have thrown a rock and hit the tennis courts.
We certainly could have. We would have moved to Torwood Street, right running on the back behind the grass court tennis courts that used to be there.
And as I understand it, there are only 2 of those actually available for juniors to practice on out of the 6 or 8 that were actually there.
Yes, the 2 back courts. They were just used for practice courts, and anyone could use them. And they were the only 2 that the junior players were allowed to practice on, Peter.
Yeah. And what people who now look at Frew Park probably don't appreciate is that in the first instance, there was actually a tram service that ran right past Milton and went down, right to the Toowong Cemetery in actual fact. And also there were tennis grass courts and I think Gstaad Park from memory. But there are also junior tennis courts across the road, which were on Brisbane City Council leased land. So it was a very large complex in its day.
Yes, it was. And those tennis courts across the road, that junior centre, my father had a lot to do with that. He actually painted the tennis sheds that were there.
Yeah, more than once, I bet.
Yes, he did. Yes, he used to keep an eye on them. And he was quite involved with that junior tennis centre across the road there.
It's now a playground and I think a volleyball court or something similar to that.
That's correct.
Memory.
Yes.
Now, okay, so you moved to Milton in 1959. We have mentioned previously you went through the floods, but I'll wait to a more face-to-face conversation before we get into those details. I understand that you actually went to the New Farm State School and probably then when you went into high school, you went into the city?
Yes, that's correct. I went to Brisbane State Commercial High School right at the very end of George Street.
Okay. You catch the train, I assume?
Well, we caught the train, and then then we'd have to walk from the station all the way down to George Street.
So it was at the parliamentary end.
Yes, that's correct. All the way down. Yes, right at the very end where all of those QUT and buildings are there today.
Yes, it's still a well-worn path for anyone going to QUT who catches a train in actual fact.
Yes.
And one of the other things I just wanted to touch upon, because I know Councillor Maddock will be quite interested in this little bit of history.
Yes.
You actually quite like 10-pin bowling.
Yes, there's a 10-pin bowling centre there. Oh, yes. We frequented that quite often, our friends and my family, because it was so close to us. You know, we just had to walk around the corner, and there we were at the bowling alley. It was quite a popular spot there during our days when we were at Milton. Yeah,
it was. I would have thought that it was sort of knocked around a little bit with the floods, as was the Milton Tennis Centre, because those floods in 1974. I mean, they were well and truly unexpected because the memory of floods were back at the start of the at the end of the previous century. In actual fact, I don't think there was a flood from 1870 something or other through to 1974.
No, yes, it was a great surprise to all of us. The water came up during the night, Peter. We sort of had tiles on our roof, and we didn't know that it was as raining as heavily as it was at that night, and the water just came up. And 2 of our cars were submerged in the water too. So it was quite a time to see what happened to poor old Milton.
Yeah, no, I bet it was. Now, let's hope that the petition numbers continue to click over. Very close to 300 at the moment, I notice. And I know that Robyn White's really out there beating the bushes to get people to support the petition. So I'm really helping Robyn as best I can. And it's really such a pleasure to talk to you and get to know you a little bit more, and the background as to why you are a very worthy recipient of the naming of the Picnic Pavilion at Frew Park overlooking Wendy Turnbull Green.
Thank you very much, Peter. I do appreciate what everyone is doing for the naming of the Picnic Pavilion.
Well, as you rightly identified, I think on the radio station, it's all about mentoring young children. And that just prods back into my memory a question I wanted to ask, because the rebound wall at Frew Park is named after Faye Muller, and she was a tennis player prior to your generation. And I'm fairly certain she was the first winner of the Wilson Cup, or in the first team that won the Wilson Cup. And you also had a bit of a history in relation to the Wilson Cup, being the youngest winner, and maybe still are the youngest winner.
Yes, well, I represented Queensland the Wilson Cup for 5 years, and actually the first year that I was the youngest player, of course, and Faye was actually our manageress.
Was she? And she's such a lovely lady. There's a whole series of YouTubes that she and I, where I interviewed her, and really great history, and I think it must have been a real team of characters, Daphne Fancutt and Faye.
Yes.
No worries. Again, thank you so much. I'm glad I remembered that question. It's a good.
The Wilson Cup. It was a wonderful series back in those days. Peter, a different world now, Peter.
No worries. All right. Thank you again Peter. So much.
Thank you.
And I'll put this up and we'll move forward.
Thank you for your help, Peter. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bye.
Good afternoon. Bye.